Welcome, dear listeners, to my book library. Today, we embark on a profound journey into a book that has fundamentally reshaped how millions perceive wealth and financial freedom. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This isn't just a book about money. It's a story about mindset, a challenge to the conventional wisdom we've been taught for generations. The entire narrative is built on a powerful contrast between two father figures in Kiyosaki's life, whose opposing views on money, work, and life created a lifelong learning experience for the author. First, there was his real father, his poor dad. He was a highly educated, brilliant man with a PhD who held a prominent position as the head of education in Hawaii. He was a firm believer in the traditional path. Go to school, get good grades, and then find a safe, secure job with a good salary and excellent benefits. He valued job security above all else, lived within his means, and saw money as something to be saved and not risked. His common refrain when faced with an expensive desire was, "I can't afford it." Despite a high income, he consistently struggled with finances and died with very little to his name. Then there was his rich dad, the father of his best friend, Mike. This man never finished the 8th grade, but went on to become one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. Rich Dad had a completely different philosophy. He believed that the traditional path was a trap designed to keep people in a cycle of work and debt, which he called the rat race. Instead of finding a good job, he believed in owning the system that creates jobs. He saw money not as an end goal, but as a tool. His response to, "I can't afford it," was a question that opened the door to possibility and financial creativity. How can I afford it? This book is the compilation of the 6 fundamental lessons Kiyosaki learned from Rich Dad. Lessons that his own highly educated father was never taught. These lessons form the core of what Kiyosaki calls financial intelligence. Lesson 1. The rich don't work for money. This first lesson is the cornerstone of the Rich Dad philosophy and is often the most difficult to grasp because it challenges our most basic assumptions about work and income. Poor Dad believed that a high-income job was the ultimate prize. He worked harder and harder, got promotions and raises. But his expenses and taxes always rose to meet his income. He was stuck on what Kiyosaki famously calls the rat race treadmill. The rat race is the endless cycle of wake up, go to work, get a paycheck, pay your bills. Then you get a raise, your lifestyle inflates, your bills increase, and you have to work even harder. It's a trap because your financial survival is always tied to your physical labor and your time. Rich Dad's central teaching was, the poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Kiyosaki and his friend Mike learned this lesson firsthand as boys. Eager to learn how to get rich, they asked Rich Dad for guidance. He offered them a job at one of his stores for 10 cents an hour. For a few weeks, they did mundane work for what felt like slave wages. They felt exploited and frustrated. This was a deliberate strategy by Rich Dad. He wanted them to feel what most employees feel: the frustration of trading their time for too little money. When they finally confronted him, demanding a raise or fair treatment, he didn't give it to them. Instead, he offered them a choice. They could continue to be victims, blaming their boss for their low pay, or they could open their minds and see the opportunity right in front of them. He pointed out that they had already unconsciously started a business. They collected used toothpaste tubes, melted down the lead, and made counterfeit nickels. While this was illegal, it showed an entrepreneurial spark. He then showed them how to run a real business. He offered them a chance to run the comic book rental business he had noticed they had created in Mike's garage. He taught them to see the comic books not as collectibles, but as assets that could generate rental income even when they weren't there. They learned to create a system that made money for them. The lesson wasn't to avoid work, but to work with a purpose, to acquire assets. The goal is not a higher salary. The goal is to build a portfolio of assets that generate so much income that you no longer have to trade your time for money. You work to learn how to build and acquire these assets, not just to earn a paycheck. Lesson 2. Why teach financial literacy? The asset versus liability rule. Rick's dad famously said, "It's not how much money you make that matters. It's how much money you keep." You can have a massive income like Kiyosaki's poor dad and still be perpetually broke. The key to keeping money is financial literacy, the ability to understand the numbers and the story they tell. The absolute core of this literacy, and the single most important concept in the entire book, is understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. Kiyosaki provides a simple, powerful definition that is different from traditional accounting. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. The wealthy focus their lives on acquiring income-generating assets. The poor and middle class, often without realizing it, focus on their income statement and acquire liabilities that they mistakenly believe are assets. Let's look at some clear examples. A rental property that generates more in monthly rent than it costs in mortgage, taxes, and maintenance is an asset. It puts money in your pocket every month. Your primary residence, in contrast, is a liability. It constantly takes money out of your pocket through mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, utilities, and repairs. It does not generate income. A stock that pays consistent dividends is an asset. A car that you use for personal transportation is a liability. It depreciates in value and requires insurance, fuel, and maintenance. A patent or a book that earns royalties is an asset. Credit card debt is a massive liability. Kiyosaki illustrates this with simple diagrams of cash flow patterns. The poor, their income from a job goes directly to expenses, rent, food, transport. They have no real assets or liabilities, just a constant struggle to make ends meet. The middle class, the rat race. They have a higher income from their job, but they acquire liabilities, mortgage, car loans, credit card debt, that dramatically increase their expenses. They often look wealthy because they have a nice house and cars, but these are all liabilities draining their income. They have very few, if any, true assets. They are one missed paycheck away from financial crisis. The rich. Their income comes primarily from their asset column: stocks, bonds, real estate, businesses. This asset column is so strong that the income it generates can cover all their expenses. Their money works for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The path to wealth is deceptively simple in theory. Understand this crucial difference and spend your life building your asset column while minimizing your liabilities. Lesson 3. Mind your own business. People often confuse their profession with their business. Your profession is what you do for a paycheck. You might be a banker, a chef, a doctor, or an engineer. Your business, in Kiyosaki's terms, revolves entirely around your asset column. While you work your day job, your focus should be on building and acquiring assets that support your personal wealth, not your employer's wealth. Poor Dad encouraged Kiyosaki to find a good company and climb the corporate ladder. Rich Dad said, "Keep your day job, but start minding your own business. Don't spend your life building someone else's business." What does minding your own business look like in practice? It means being financially disciplined. When you get your paycheck, don't immediately spend it all on liabilities like a new car, expensive clothes, or a bigger mortgage. Instead, be frugal with your personal expenses and channel your surplus cash into your asset column first. Your business is the act of building this portfolio. Your profession simply funds it. The types of assets you can focus on include real estate that generates rental income, stocks that pay dividends, bonds that pay interest, royalties from intellectual property like music, books, or patents, a business that does not require your physical presence to run. The classic example Kiyosaki uses is Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. When asked what business he was in, most people would say the hamburger business, but Kroc corrected them, saying, "My business is real estate." McDonald's primary asset is the real estate under its thousands of franchises. That was his business. Selling hamburgers was the profession that funded the acquisition of that real estate portfolio. So, while you work as an employee, remember that you are there to learn and to fund your true business, building your own empire of assets. Lessons 4, 5, and 6. The Advanced Game of Wealth. Lesson 4. The History of Taxes and the Power of Corporations. This lesson delves into the legal and structural advantages that the wealthy use. Kiyosaki explains that the income tax was initially introduced to tax the rich, but it was gradually applied to the middle class. The wealthy, however, learned to play the game differently. He outlines the fundamental cash flow patterns. The employee earns, is taxed, spends what's left. The business owner investor, through a corporation, earns, spends on pre-tax business expenses, is taxed on what's left. This is a monumental difference. An employee's largest expense is often taxes, and they are the first to be paid. A business owner operating through a corporation gets to pay for all their legitimate business expenses first: a company car, travel, insurance, portions of their home office, meals of clients, and is only taxed on the remaining profit. Rich Dad's advice was to understand and use the legal structure of a corporation to your advantage. The rich create corporations not just to run a business, but to protect their assets and minimize their tax burden legally. They see the tax code as a tool to be used. The poor and middle class, who are primarily employees, see it as a punishment. This is a powerful call to financial education, to understand the rules of the game so you can play it effectively. Lesson 5. The rich invent money. Wealth is often created through financial intelligence and creativity, not just from saving a portion of your salary. Kiyosaki argues that money isn't real. It's an idea agreed upon by people. The rich invent money by creating opportunities through deals that others don't see. This involves 1. Finding opportunities that others miss. This requires financial education and a keen eye. He gives examples of finding foreclosed properties or businesses that are undervalued and can be turned around for a profit. 2. Raising capital creatively. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," the rich ask, "How can I raise the capital?" This might mean using other people's money, OPM, getting a bank loan for a cash-flowing asset, bringing in investment partners, or negotiating seller financing for a property. 3. Putting together deals. The most significant wealth is created by structuring complex transactions. This is the world of financial engineering. Buying a company, streamlining it, and taking it public, or assembling a large real estate deal with multiple investors. This lesson is about developing the vision to see value where others see only risk or nothing at all. Lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. The final lesson is about the kind of skills you should acquire on your journey. Instead of seeking specialization purely for a high salary, Kiyosaki advises taking jobs for the skills you will learn, especially in the areas of sales, marketing, and leadership. He himself took a job at Xerox, not for the pay, but to conquer his shyness and learn the vital skill of sales, a skill crucial for any entrepreneur or investor who needs to sell their ideas, their products, or themselves. The most important management skills for wealth are cash flow management, the ability to manage the lifeblood of your business and personal finances; systems management, the ability to create and manage efficient systems, including the system of your own time; people management, the ability to lead, communicate with, and motivate people; become a lifelong learner, specifically in the areas of accounting, investing, marketing, and law. Your greatest asset is your mind. Train it well. Conclusion: overcoming obstacles and your path forward. Kiyosaki ends by acknowledging that the path to financial freedom is not easy. The main obstacles are not external, but internal. He identifies the 5 key psychological obstacles. 1. Fear. The fear of losing money is paralyzing. The rich know that failure is part of the process of success. 2. Cynicism. The voice of, "What if it doesn't work?" that kills dreams before they are even tried. 3. Laziness. Often manifested as being too busy to mind your own business. The solution is a little greed, a desire for a better life. 4. Bad habits. Poor spending habits that prioritize liabilities over assets. 5. Arrogance. Thinking you know everything, which prevents you from learning new things. The core message of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a powerful call to action. It's a plea to take control of your financial education. Stop blindly following the old, broken formula of work hard, save, and avoid debt. Understand that not all debt is bad. There is good debt used to acquire assets that pay for themselves, and bad debt used to acquire liabilities that drain you. The most important shift you can make today is to stop saying, "I can't afford it," and to start asking, "How can I afford it?" This simple change in language forces your brain to think, to seek solutions, and to see opportunities, just like Rich Dad. So, as you leave the library today, remember the fundamental rule: mind your own business. Focus on building your asset column. Make financial literacy a lifelong pursuit. Take calculated risks, learn from your mistakes, and understand that the only true job security is the wealth and financial intelligence you build for yourself. The choice between the mindset of Poor Dad and the mindset of Rich Dad is yours. Choose wisely. Thank you for listening to this professional summary on My Book Library today. If you found it useful, take one idea from this audio and put it into action today.